Hey SmugStick, it's everyone, welcome to a new part of What If Bardock Was Sent into the Future. Previously, Bardock regained his memories, thanks to Monito giving him his old scouter and revealing that he saved Granolah long ago. After a small altercation, he trained the Cerulean boy, and together, they took down the Heaters. Our heroes were found by the Galactic Patrol, who have now arrested the remaining Heaters and taken Bardock and Granolah as prisoners. All Bardock can think about now is that soon he will have to face his son. The like goal for this video is 3,000 likes, and if you want to check out the previous parts, the playlist is in the description. Let's begin. As the Galactic Patrol apprehends the surviving Heaters, they also arrest Bardock and Granolah, giving them medical attention. At the Galactic Patrol HQ, they argue their case. They were to be kept there at least for a while. Granolah had resigned his fate, but Bardock exploded his key. Jacko, who had been escorting them, was terrified. He reminded him of someone Bulma told him about long ago. After all, he was one of the only Saiyans he had ever seen. He tried to threaten him with his blaster, but Bardock was way too fast, breaking out Granolah and rushing through the halls to try and find a spaceship to escape. But as they reached the pod, the two were knocked out by a single blaster shot on the back. Miras, one of the higher-up Galactic Patrollers, cocked an eyebrow as he walked up to the pair on the ground, curious. Once he woke up again, Bardock met the eyes of Miras, instantly asking where Granolah was. But even before Miras could answer, Bardock burst into Super Saiyan 2 and began throwing punches, which never landed, kicking up the table to distract Miras and blast him from the side. But Miras was able to put a stop to both with a single finger. Bardock was in disbelief as Miras finally began to explain. Granolah was safe, still recovering from his injuries. But Bardock had a lot to answer for. Why did he attack the Heaters? As far as they had records of, the only Saiyans left were those that lived on Earth and Tarble. Bardock explained the relationship between himself and Granolah, albeit reluctantly, as well as his venture to save the Cerulean. He stayed quiet before continuing to say that he has no idea how he ended up surviving the explosion of planet Vegeta, especially since it feels as if no time passed between the death ball and him waking up again. Bardock clenched his fist. Did he mean to say that he was there when Frieza destroyed the planet? How was that possible? Bardock punched the wall. He didn't want to repeat himself. Miras realized then that he was the only surviving Saiyan to be there that day, and surely felt guilty because of it. Instead of continuing to ask questions, Miras invited him to come along with him. They ended up in a strange room where, as Miras explained, time flowed differently. Bardock felt heavier but comfortable, similar to the gravity on planet Vegeta. Why were they there? To get those Saiyan frustrations out. He knew Bardock probably didn't want to talk about everything he was required to ask, so why not fight first? Bardock smirked and wasted no time, going Super Saiyan 2 and attacking with all his might. Miras allowed him to get some hits in just to see how Bardock could handle himself, slowly over time trying to coach him. But this Saiyan just got more and more annoyed, no matter how many times Miras told him to clear his mind and let his body move on instinct. It was clear that he wasn't built for that kind of thing, as instead he got more aggressive yet less predictable, starting to use his tail in battle, slapping Miras in the face across with it. But Miras knew the Saiyan's weakness, grabbing him by the tail only to get an elbow to the face.
Hey, I'm no rookie. My tail ain't my weakness.
Miras was impressed, and Bardock was growing exponentially in the short amount of time they spent together. Miras was trying to steer him towards the path of a godly power, but maybe that wasn't meant for him. Perhaps his path of growth was to focus on what he was good at, being a Saiyan. At the end of the training, the two sat and talked. Miras revealed that the worlds that had been taken over by the Heaters were now welcomed into the Galactic Kingdom, and were to be provided for. Miras then asked bluntly, was he the one who defeated Frieza? Rumors were that it was a Super Saiyan that had done it. This bothered Bardock. Just hearing the name riled him up, but no, it wasn't. In fact, he had failed to stop him long ago. He recalled Guinea and his squad. His aura sparked up. He couldn't help but have his power rise out of anger. Survivor's guilt, Miras whispered to himself before looking at Bardock. Death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints, and most Saiyans were the furthest thing from saints. All I know is that you've gotten a second chance. According to Jacko, there are Saiyans that live on Earth. I suggest you seek him out. Bardock looked at the ground. Perhaps it really was time to return there. He stood up and told Miras one last thing. He wasn't sure, but he suspected the one who actually defeated Frieza was his son, Kakarot. He lives on Earth as well. As they began to pack things up to return to planet Cereal, Jacko ran towards Bardock. He'd just gotten word from Earth. They are looking for him. On Earth, the god of destruction Beerus had arrived looking for the Super Saiyan god. He visited Goku at the Kaioshin realm at first, nearly killing him after Buu annoyed him. And although Goku's Super Saiyan 3 was impressive, especially after years of training with Buu and the Sea Sword in a less limiting body, it was no god. A few years ago, Goku had accidentally freed the old Kai from the sword, and though he offered to unlock his hidden power, Goku thought it was a really boring way to get stronger. It could be useful down the line, but he'd rather train. Still, a favor had to be called on the old Kai. Once Goku suggested to Vegeta with the help of the Kaioshin to use the Dragon Balls and asks Shenron to bring forth this Saiyan god, they realized they needed 6 Saiyans for the ritual. Goten, Trunks, Gohan, and Vegeta were accounted for, and then Goku was revived by the old Kai, giving his life so Goku could return to the living realm, though he promised to visit the Kaioshin realm often to take care of Buu. Still, one more Saiyan was needed. Beerus threatened to destroy the world again, as Videl was about to speak up when suddenly Goten yelled out, "There was another." Whis cocked an eyebrow, with Trunks agreeing with Goten. Not only did Vegeta have a brother, but there was one more Saiyan who used to live on Earth, and though they don't know where he is, he was really strong. If they need another Saiyan, they should get him. Goku said that they didn't know where he was, but Bulma cleared her throat, as everyone turned around to look at her. Jacko had recently sent her a message, telling her that he apprehended a Saiyan. He knew she was friends with many, so he thought maybe it could be one of her friends. She hadn't said anything because she grounded Trunks after finding out they were hanging out with him. Plus, she didn't like him very much. He's currently at the Galactic Patrol HQ. Back to Bardock, his heart dropped. He thought he had more time to figure things out. But now, Jacko was frantic, yelling at him that they needed to go now. Bardock looked at Granolah as somebody teleported in. Goku appeared right before Bardock. A cold fell down his spine. He didn't know how to respond, what to say. All he knew is who he was. "Hey! Oh, you must be Jacko. Did you let him know already? You'll help us out, right?" Granolah stared at Bardock, realizing what was going on, and softly pushed him forward. Bardock took a step, turning to see Granolah as the Cerealian nodded at him.
Kakarot.
"Yeah, well, it's Goku. We don't have time now. Can you help?"
Right.
Granolah told Bardock that he'd stick around the Galactic Patrol HQ before returning, but to visit sometime soon. Bardock shook Granolah's hand, then placing it on Goku's shoulder. It was surreal. The two teleported to Earth, where he was reunited with Goten and Trunks, who ran to hug him. Bardock pushed them off awkwardly, but ruffled their hair. It was really nice to see them again, specifically apologizing to Goten for leaving. Vegeta and Gohan weren't sure what to make of him, but by sensing his ki, they could tell that it had fundamentally changed, as if it was more complete. He seems like a murderous Saiyan still, but he was more peaceful. Bardock bowed his head before the god of destruction, with Beerus cocking an eyebrow.
You know me, Saiyan. I've never met you personally, but your visits to planet Vegeta were the talk of the town and the scorn of the king. An elder Saiyan? Interesting. You know, you lower-class Saiyans all look the same to me.
That's a little racist. Vegeta side-glanced Kakarot. He knew what he was thinking. The huge elephant in the room. But neither Kakarot nor Bardock wanted to talk about it. Still, this was awkward for Beerus, who had waited way too long. It was time for the ritual. Holding hands with Gohan and Goku, Bardock felt an incredible surge of energy, not just from the Super Saiyan surrounding him, but from the realization that he was amongst family. Looking at Gohan, he could see Gine's kind smile. Goten had her heart, while Goku was the spitting image of himself, but with the never-say-die attitude Gine had. With Goku having just returned, he was chosen for the ritual, as Goku's aura changed into a raging inferno, covering a calm appearance. Bardock's heart beat faster and faster. He looked familiar, yet ethereal, as if he had visions of this before. Maybe he had. The battle was unlike anything he had seen before, and it made him realize just how far behind he was. The way Goku moved was a blur. The intensity of Beerus' attacks felt like earthquakes through his body. He slowly clenched his fist and began to enjoy it. He found himself cheering for Goku, yelling out Kakarot's name, which caught everyone's attention. Why was he so enthusiastic? But the battle ended as soon as it began. It was taken underground, above the earth, only to return down to the surface. Goku had saved the world and returned to life. Beerus was happy and proud of what happened here, and just like the original, Goku and Vegeta would go to train under Whis. But Bardock didn't care about anything that was going going on. Instead, he was solely focused on that Super Saiyan God and Goku. He knew it was time to confront him. He wasn't ready, but he had to. That night, as the party wound down, Goku watched the stars by the pond, with Bardock walking up behind him. "Hey, old man! Thanks for helping today."
Kakarot, I need to tell you something.
Goku stayed quiet as they looked at each other silently. Somehow, he knew what he was gonna say. And once he said that he was his father, Goku looked down.
You don't have to say anything. I'm just glad to see the way you are, the way you've grown and survived.
The two continued to discuss. Goku was surprised, but it was also so strange. He had a father as far as he knew. His name was Son Gohan, yet he couldn't help but feel a deep connection. The word survive echoed in his mind as Bardock slowly revealed just who his mother was, and how they had both come together to send Kakarot away somewhere safe. Goku felt a strange sense of relief upon hearing that. Bardock was saddened to hear about Raditz and the fight between the brothers, but he didn't blame Kakarot, he blamed Frieza. Still, they both knew how incredibly difficult and awkward this was. Saiyans weren't made for a moment like this. They were made for fighting, and that's exactly what Goku suggested. Goku and Bardock stood face to face, the air between them thick with tension. Words had failed them, but their Saiyan blood knew exactly what to do next. With a shared understanding, they both launched themselves at each other, fists colliding in explosions of power. Goku could sense the raw aggression of Bardock's attacks, a ferocity that matched his own whenever he fought for survival. Goku retaliated, his movements fluid and swift, a stark difference from his father's. Bardock also fought dirty, using elbows, knees, even headbutts to keep Goku on the defensive. The two continued to exchange blows at incredible speed, each strike causing shockwaves that echoed through the landscape. This began to catch everyone's attention as they gathered together to watch the fight. Goku was impressed by his father. Despite coming from a different era, his power was incredible. He wondered how he achieved Super Saiyan. Surely, his life hadn't been the easiest. As Bardock pressed the attack, his strikes even heavier, breaking through Goku's defenses. He ducked under a wild punch and delivered an uppercut that sent Bardock flying into the sky. Goku shot up after him, only to be met by a brutal kick to the face that sent him crashing back down. Bardock smirked, but as Goku wiped blood from his lip, he powered up into Super Saiyan 2. To his surprise, however, Bardock did the same, rushing towards each other again. But Goku's technique was a level beyond, and he was more used to this form. He began to outmaneuver Bardock, landing a flurry of ki bullets. He charged at Goku with a roar, only to be met by a devastating punch to the gut that sent him skidding back. Goku could feel the strain in Bardock's energy, the years of battle-worn fatigue starting to show, but the older Saiyan wasn't done yet. Still, Goku wanted to show off a little, as he took a deep breath and descended into Super Saiyan 3. Bardock stared at his son, awe flickering in his eyes, before he rushed towards him with everything he had. Goku did the same, but he was a lot faster now. Goku could see the exhaustion in Bardock's eyes, but he also saw pride and the stubbornness that he refused to yield. Bardock swung wildly, trying to catch Goku off guard, but this time Bardock's training with Mirrors seemed to pay off, at least a little bit, as a punch finally landed on Goku's face, following it up with a Rebellion Blaster, but Goku retaliated with his own Kamehameha, finally overwhelming Bardock and burning him off in a cloud of smoke and dirt. The impact was enough to send Bardock into the ground, his energy completely drained. Goku floated down and extended his hand, offering to help his father up. Bardock stared at the hand for a moment, then shifting to his son's eyes. He saw something familiar, something that reminded him of Guinea. The warmth, the kindness, it was all there, reflected in his son. Bardock grabbed Goku's hand, pulling himself up, but instead of letting go, he pulled Goku into a hug, a rare moment of vulnerability, before awkwardly pushing him away. Goku was taken aback, though he did return the embrace. Bardock shook himself off. He had never done something like that. For a brief moment, the battlefield was silent, the only sound being the steady breathing of the father and the son. But not only did he see his wife in Goku's eyes, but also the tenacity of the man who had defeated Frieza. Suddenly, he felt someone jump on him. Goten. Bardock tried to get him off, but he was just as strong as he remembered. Gohan arrived with Chi-Chi as well, having watched the battles.
I guess this makes you all my grandchildren.
Gohan was taken by surprise, and Chi-Chi yelled at Goku for not telling her to get dressed up to meet family, while Goten screamed in amazement. Bardock knew things would never be the same, but perhaps he could finally start to move on. leave that survivor's guilt behind. Vegeta watched all of this while leaning on a tree, as Bardock nodded at him respectfully. He was the prince after all. Vegeta just scoffed. Bardock would go on to live with the Sun family for a week or so, but this life was not for him. With 17's permission, he decided to instead live on Monster Island again, with all those strange creatures. Though he could never really see Earth as his home, he would often go out into space for days on end, on a roomier spaceship, courtesy of Capsule Corp. He did like his family, of course, but he was a soldier, a warrior. He couldn't stay in one place for long. Goku understood there were no hard feelings. The one who related the most to him was Vegeta. In fact, the prince sought out Bardock to talk about the old planet Vegeta. He was the only other person to remember it. Vegeta thought it was a cold and heartless place, but Bardock corrected him. To him, it was kind of beautiful, though it was probably hard to see that from the castle walls. Bardock and Vegeta themselves fought too, with Bardock asking Vegeta for his help in mastering not just the Ozaru, but using the artificial moon. He had always been extremely interested in that, and when he was a kid, even lied to others, saying that he was a great scientist who invented it. One night, as Bardock departed to visit Granolah and venture into a new bounty hunting mission, Bardock heard something on the back, finding Goten. He had snuck into the ship. Bardock rolled his eyes, but he did like having him around. He just had to make sure to leave a message for Chi-Chi and Goku, blasting off. Unbeknownst to him, within a week, another ship would land on Earth, as a set of aliens looked for a mystical set of Dragon Balls. Bardock's worst nightmare was about to come true. Frieza had been revived. Thank you for watching, everyone. This has been a really fun theory to do. As always, a huge thank you to the channel supporters, who get to watch videos like this early on Patreon. In fact, the next part is already up there. And if you're looking for more Dragon Ball content, why not check out my video exploring the strange world of the Dragon Ball stage shows.